Bruchim Aboim, Baruch Hashem, new Zman, a new start, Pirkei Avot, it's very exciting. So before we start to learn actual Mishnayot, as we did with Ashrei, we did with Ashrei and we did with Az Yashir, before we start to learn and analyze the holy words of the Tanaim of this Masechet, we have to preface a few ideas, concepts, Yisodot, which will Be'ezrat Hashem help us to gain the most out of the limud. Do you understand? If we have this Akdama, then hopefully we'll be able to understand. Now, as we normally do things, we have a few questions, and then we'll try to answer the questions and develop. First question is, why is it called Masechet Avot? It's a strange name. You don't call it, chapters of the fathers or whatever. It's like Masechet Avot. Call it Masechet Midot, Masechet Yirat Shemaim. I don't know why the word Avot, right? Why is it called Masechet Avot? That's question number one. Question number two, which I never really looked into, and I'm very happy I did, is the shiur. Why is the minhag to say Pirkei Avot between Pesach and Shavuot? Right? Now it's brought down the halacha, because they will see later the Ashkenaz minhag is that they carry on right through the summer. They carry on right through the summer. They end up actually saying Pirkei Avot 4 times. And it says in Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says, I think it's in Hilchot Rosh Hashanah, that, and here we stop saying Pirkei Avot. It's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, meaning the minhag, and in England especially, wherever, because here in this country the Ashkenazim don't really say it so much, but in England and everything, just like we do, they're makpid to say every Shabbat Mincha, one parak of Pirkei Avot, and they carry on even after Shavuot. Right,
And then they say 2 chapters.
Right, they finish by Rosh Hashanah. We just, we're in the Hakdamah today, we won't do a Mishnah. We asked already, the first question was, why is it called Masechet Avot? Second question you just came in was, why is the minhag, where does it come from, the minhag, to say between Pesach and Shavuot, at least for us, of Ashkenazim to Rosh Hashanah. Thirdly, I want to just learn a small piece of Gemara in Masechet Baba Kama, right? Because the Gemara in Baba Kama says over there, I'll just say at the beginning, the question of the Gemara is, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Hai man Tebai Lemahave Hasid. A person wants to be considered a Hasid, right? Doesn't mean with a long beard and pairs, as we know. A Hasid, like you look in Ramchal, Mesid Esharim, he goes Lifnim Mishurat Hadin, he wants to do everything in the best way, in the best possible way, a very high level, and I even saw in one of the Sfarim, either today or yesterday, I can't remember exactly where, that really from Chassidut, all the higher levels of the ladder of Pinchas Ben Yair, which Mesil Esharim is based upon, it all comes from Chassidut. Once a person reaches the level of Chassidut, then he opens the gate, the door to all the levels to Ruach HaKodesh. So it says, what do you have to do? So we'll see that Gemara, hopefully, if we have time. And lastly, which is considered starting, why do we start saying Pirkei Avot with Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chelek L'Olam Haba? Shene'emar V'amech Kulam Tzadikim L'Olam Chelek. It's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin, Perek Chelek. The last Perek in Sanhedrin says Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chelek L'Olam Haba. You start saying, the minhag is to say a Perek each week, so say the Perek. What's this preface? Why we start with Kol Yisrael, right? It's also a question. No, didn't bother me. I never know all these things bother me. Okay, so let's go, one by one. So the first thing we said, why is it called Masechet Avot? So I saw altogether 6 reasons, at least 6. I'll take a selection from many from the Yalkut Ma'am Loez, Rabbi Yaakov Kuli, even though I'm not sure if this particular bit was from Rabbi Yaakov Kuli. I'm not sure this was, because he only wrote, this is what they said, this one was originally. Some of it was written later on, but I did, for Rabbi Yaakov Kuli. The first one is, he says, this is also based on the Gemara in Baba Kama actually, when the Gemara in Baba Kama discusses, it says, Arba Avot Nezikin. Right? There were 4 main categories of Nezikin. Right? Of damage, Right? Shor, Bo, etc. Right? Now what does Avot mean? What does Avot mean? It means in this categories. So he says that when we say Masechet Avot, he says it means to say these are categories. Everything we're going to learn in the Mishnah, all the Mishnayot and Hillel and Yochanan Zakkai, etc., are Avot. They're categories, they're titles, which means within that lie many more details and subcategories. Get it? So it says this is Masechet Avot. We should realize, and the Lashon of the Mamnu is V'yesh la'ayen bahem v'ledakdek bahem hetev. And therefore it's beholden upon us to look into the words, to be very careful about the words, shedivrem hem bechinat mu'at machzik hamerubah, because their words are a small amount that contains a lot. And everyone's called Masechet Avot. Okay? Now, what are these titles? What is that? Yeah? What is what are we being taught over here? So so we know that Masechet Avot is full of Musar and Tochacha, right? It's all Musar. It's all Musar of ways how we should work ourselves, Midot Tovot, etc. Now, if therefore it's called Masechet Avot, that means that these are the categories for all the basis of Avodat HaMusar, of working upon ourselves on his Midot, etc. And apparently I can't remember exactly where now also, that everything that was written afterwards, all the Sifrei Musa and everything, all stems from Masechet Avot. It all essentially comes from Masechet Avot, right? That's number one. Number two is that another also Gemara Baba Kama, it says, why is something called Avot? Why are these called Arba Avot Nezikim? Because these ones are mentioned explicitly in the Psukim. If you look in Parshat Mishpatim, you'll see, right? Shor, Bo, it says explicitly, they're written in the Psukim. There's a few Psukim on each one, right? Adam Mazdig, Shor, Bo, it's all there. And that's what Avot means. That's number one. Number two is, which linked up, Avot is referring the connotation of a lineage, meaning of our fathers, right? The fathers, meaning the generation, right? The tradition. It's called Masechet Avot, says the Ben Amnoez. Again, he's quoting many different sources. But it's referring to, this is a Masechet of the Avot of the Dorot, meaning the fathers of all these generations, going back to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? This is Masechet Avot. This is a Masechet of all the Avot. I mean, all the Gedolei Ador that existed from Moshe Rabbeinu to Yeshua, as we'll see in the first Mishnah, up until the time of Rabbeinu HaKadosh. That's why it's called Avot. And this fits very nicely, this pshat, with the opening words of the Bar Tanura on the first Mishnah when it says, Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. Yeah? And he says, why make it start Masechet Avot? Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. Well, why over here, not in Masechet Brachot? Yeah, say Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. We know he received the Har Sinai, Torah Shebichtav, Torah Shebal Peh. Masechet Brachot says everything he got, right? He received at Har Sinai. So why we start over here Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai? He says to tell you that you should know that everything which is in here in Masechet Avot is in the Torah Shebichtav. Do not think this is Kaviyachol, like, some Jewish philosophy book. Do you understand? This is already ideas, how to behave, etc. And, obviously influenced by the Torah, but it's their own ideas. No. Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. You should know this is Masechet Avot. This is Avot Dorot, going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Just like everything else, this is also going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. There's no such thing of it. All the Musa and the Midot Tovot we're going to learn from is Kula Torah HaKadosha. Right? That's very important. So again, that's the word Avot. Based on the Gemara Bava Kama, it's explicit, meaning this is from the Psukim, right? This is based on the Torah. Don't think this Masechet is something in the air, right? Jewish philosophy, Jewish ethics. That's number one. Number two, we said it's Avot. It's a continuation. We're going back to Moshe Rabbeinu from the Gedolei Ador. And number three, that we said that it's their titles. I mean, this is their headings, which means we have to realize that it's not just read it through and just take it at face value, right? We'll come back to that a bit in a minute, Mitzvah. Now, the second question we asked was, why do we say, what's the minhag? Where does it come from? Right? What's the minhag? Now this is unbelievable. See over here what it says over here. Again, this is based on the Medrash Shmuel, who was Rav Shmuel. I said his name 1 second. His name was Shmuel di Ozida, who lived at some point in Tzfat. Shmuel di Ozida, I assume he came from Spain at some point. Rabbi Shmuel di Ozida, who wrote the Medrash Shmuel, which is mainly what I've seen is on the last Perek, on Perek Shishi of Pirkei Avot, right? But he has brought down his name, a few of these reasons. One is, it's springtime. The weather is heating up, it's getting hot, right? So the words of the Medrash Shmuel are, just like the weather is heating up, so too the Yetzer Hara heats up. Very succinct in his words, right? What does that mean? So the Mam Noez expounds on that a bit, right? And he says it's nice weather, it's very nice weather now, right? It's much beautiful weather, it's not actually too hot. Springtime, and everyone feels like, oh, let's just go out. It's so geschmack. Let's go out, on a trip. Let's go out into the countryside. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's have a good time, right? Says the Chazal, the Minhag Yisrael, Kadosh, Torah. Calm down. Masechet Avot. Let's get your priorities right in life. Yeah. The Mamre says beautifully. He says, instead of going around in the countryside and landscaped gardens, he says, get yourself prepared for the true landscape garden of Eden. Yeah, we've got Eden, the Chai Olam Haba, which what Masechet Avot brings a person to, the Chai Olam Haba, and that way, that's as it were, an antidote for the Yetzer Hara that comes at this time. I said in this, I quoted this way, you saw this Ethics of Sinai, from Sinai, of Erwin Bunim. I quoted before, Erwin Bunim, Zichron Livracha, was a big Askan, Talmid Chacham, was very close to Aaron Kotler in the 50s, 60s in America, 40s even actually, yeah? Starting with the 40s, the Second World War, there's Mises with him. And I just quote what he says, he writes beautiful English, it's American, but it's from a long time ago, so it's okay. He says, at this time of year, it is therefore best to listen, he says, this is when, in the springtime, this is when nature renews its great cycle of annual life and growth. The warm, vital forces of regeneration begin to stir and flow. Man too feels powerful instinctual urges roused within himself. You understand? If you look in you don't have to look, you don't want to look, but whatever you know from your youth, of how the Goyim talk about springtime and all the songs, the rest of it, springtime, love, they get all with the summer, it's all, letting go and all the rest of it, right? That's how it is. It's a reality. So he says, therefore, this time of year is therefore best to listen to the wisdom of the sages, to learn how to overcome temptation and passion, develop our willpower and control our actions. Yeah? That's what he says. That's reason number one. Yeah? That's reason number one. Reason number two is that we mentioned the Sefer Chinuch, right? With Sfirat HaOmer, that the whole point of Sfirat HaOmer, we're counting towards Matan Torah, which is the Ikar. The whole purpose of Kemet Mitzrayim, we said, right? The other day was because we've come to get the Torah, Har Sinai, that's the whole purpose. And therefore, we want to prepare ourselves for Matan Torah. And it says in the Pasuk, Reshit Chochmah Yirat Hashem. The first level, the first stage of Chochmah, meaning of the Torah, is Yirat Hashem, Yirat Shemayim. As it says in Masechet Ta'anit, and the Nefesh HaChaim talks about it, that there's an Otzar, there's a treasure house full of Chochmah. The key is Yirat Shemayim, right? The Torah, you want to get into the Torah, open the door into the Torah, you have to have an Otzar, you have to have your own treasure house of Yirat Shemayim, because otherwise, where we say, but Ein Yira, Ein Torah. We're going to see the Mishnah itself. And therefore, we're preparing ourselves for Matan Torah, and therefore, this is all full of Musa, right? Pirkei Avot is all full of Musa. Now, not only that, in this Pshat, I found a Sefer called V'zot B'Yehuda. Yeah? Nothing to do with the Cheder down the road. V'zot B'Yehuda. And this was written by someone called Rabbi Yehuda Ayash, who was Rav of Kihla Kedosha in Algeria. Yeah? Achron from Algeria. And he says as follows, I quote what he says. Lefish anu muchanim lekabel Torah ba'atzeret, because we are getting ready to accept the Torah in Atzeret, on which is means Shavuot. The tachlit hakabbalah kedei lilmod ulelamed, and the purpose of receiving the Torah was we should learn the Torah, we should study the Torah, we should teach the Torah, obviously, and keep the Torah. Lechach makdimim kodem lahachriz la'am. Therefore, we start and we machriz to the am, which is the idea, the fact that we sit down after mincha on Shabbat and say the Pirkei Avot to announce to the people shishtadlu be'esek haTorah b'charitzut rizuzut. A person should get ready to toil in Torah, be busy in Torah, b'charitzut v'zrizut, with all his koach, with all his energy. Not like half asleep and just not with it. No. Yeah? Shemesechta azot ein lecha kol perek beperek she'ein bo mazir limud. He said in this Masechet you're going to find there's not one perek when it isn't talking about you, about warning a person how to get on with his learning. And he says, especially bifrat perek rishon rubo lahalhiv lagdil lecheshek v'torah tov. That Talmud Torah, especially the first perek, which is coming to give a person cheshek and get him excited to want to learn Torah. Understand? So there's two things over here. Again, most Mefarshim explain that the main point is the Musa and the Midot Tovot, right? But he's saying over here, in itself, it's coming within the Midot Tovot. You'll find many Mishtayot, especially the last perek, are coming there only for that purpose, to get you excited to keep the Torah, learn Torah, with a cheshek. That's what he said. That's Bezot Yudah. Now, the third reason is, we know it's a time of din. Metu Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, the Gemara in Avot says, right? Talmidei Rabbi Akiva died, it's a time of din, it's a time of avilut, right? It's a time of avilut, no weddings, no chatunot, no hair cutting, etc., right? It's a time of avilut. And the Mamluez expounds on it even more. He said, to a certain way, it's like, Yemei Adin of Rosh Hashanah. And I said Yemei Teshuvah. That's how it should be. I know people just can't wait to hear music and have a haircut, but that's how it should be. It's a time of din. And just like in Rosh Hashanah, a person, he is more humble. Right? Normally, people are happy-go-lucky when it comes to, normally Elul, Rosh Hashanah, I say Yemei Teshuvah, he all calms down a bit. He's a bit more contrite, he's a bit more humble, he's more willing to accept Musa. You speak to a guy like now, springtime, happy, he's off to go away, he's planning his holiday in Georgia, right? In some 5-star hotel, he's telling him, Olam Haba and Musa and control, and the guy's like, give me a break, I want to enjoy myself. When it comes to, Elul Selihot and Rosh Hashanah, he went in the middle of Seimet Teshuvah, well, most people, we hope, are a bit more willing to accept, right? So that's also the reason why we do it now. You understand? Because it's a time when things are people are trying a bit more willing to accept over here. That's another reason. Another reason brought down. A fourth reason, this is I brought down the Kitzur in the Shem Medrash Shmuel, the Ma'am Loez, I want to read in a minute, it expounds on this beautifully. Apparently, in times of yore, the springtime was a time when people started to need types of medications or healing. It was done in the spring, summertime. We understand, the winter, people, it's all free, whatever, most places it's cold and this and that. People just try not to get too ill, do you understand? And in the summer, they're trying to build themselves up, you know what I mean? They're going to be out, exercise, this, that, whatever they need to do for their body, physically, to, work, get themselves strong, etc. The time of refuah. And if a person, he says, is a time of refuah for the body, so Yisrael Kadoshim Hem, we don't just try and heal the body, we try and heal the soul. We want to heal our soul, right? And how do we heal the soul? By working on a midot, because midot ra'ot are like a malady, a sign which is something bad, right? Something which is not good, it's an illness. And the Ma'am Noel says, he says two ideas, two concepts. One, he says about when he's saying Parashat B'Shalach, Hashem says, "Okay, Ani Hashem Rofecha," right? I'm the doctor over here. Apparently, Medrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe Rabbeinu all the different herbs that exist and told him how each one can cure. And Hashem said, but you don't need it. because you've got Torah mitzvot. If you keep the Torah mitzvot, you won't have to come on to derech hateva of this medicine or that potion or whatever it is. You won't need it. And like it says in the pasuk, Sham sam lo chok u'mishpat v'sham nisaru. Hashem gave them in the river, gave them, it says, we have a Shabbat, this, that, and the other, and they were tested over there. They wanted to see if you keep Shabbat, you keep the mitzvot, Torah mitzvot, then ma'al derech hateva you'll be healed. Right? And therefore we should realize that. The Shari Tshuva, Rabbi Yonah, when he talks about in Perek Shabbat, I think the second reason, the first reason, when he says what are the ways for a person to come to do teshuvah, is one is when a person gets Yisurim chas v'sholom. And he says that when a person suffers physically, he said that it's just a manifestation of his spiritual illness. Because he says averot are just sickness of the soul. You understand? And they affect the person physically. And then he says, we found in last week's parasha, it's a beautiful idea, in parasha Tazviyah Metzorah, well, we just last week, the Metzorah, parasha Metzorah, he says that this person had a leprosy. But we know it came because he spoke Lashon Hara. He's got leprosy. Now, if you ask a doctor what is going to make a person better, to put him in solitary confinement is not going to help the guy get better. He's going to get depressed. He's going to get down. When a person's like that, all the literature, medicine will tell you that's the worst thing to do. Send him a, what's it called, a thingy clown. What do they call it? Not medical. A, what? Yeah, the clown, play some music. The worst thing, go to a laughter clinic. There's such a thing, right? They say. I think I read someone in England. There was some doctor years ago tried to cure people from cancer with laughing in a laughter clinic because it releases the endorphin, whatever it is, in the body, and it helps the body heal much, much quicker, more than any medicine. It's unbelievable. So, and now according to Derech HaTeva, they say, you're crazy. What are you saying to this guy out with leprosy? He's going to get better? He's going to get worse. But the Torah says, no, send him out. But go out of the machaneh to get better. And he says into this, why? Because why did he get Lashon Hara? Why did he get the illness? Because of Lashon Hara. And we be'etzem en yisur. Now we said Rabbi Yonah says, come because there's Averas. Right? So therefore, that's the best place for him to go. Be there, have a lev nishba, think about what am I doing over here. Yeah, get depressed, for a good sense, and clean up your act. And then you get better physically. It's true. And he says in the pasuk, it says when it comes back, v'yatza kohen el chutz nemahaneh, ura'a v'nei nirpa nega hatzarat min hatzarua. And behold, the nega, the leprosy, right, the illness, has been healed from the leper. So he says, 1 minute, he says, it should say, the leper has been healed from the malady of leprosy. Not the leprosy has been healed from the leper. You get it? Wait a minute, no, the subject is the leper, and the leper has healed. Not the leprosy has gone from the leper. Doesn't make any sense. Do you know what he says? El remez yesh bekatuv lema she'amarnu שזה שנרפא נגע צרת בגלל הצרוע נרפא שעשה תשובה. Get it? That נרפא נגע צרת מן הצרוע, the illness is gone from the tzarua. I mean, the illness came from the leper himself. It went away because the leper himself, because he did tshuva, so the illness went away. Get it? So therefore we say Masechet Avot. Another reason why we have Masechet Avot between these times, because it's refuat nefesh. Yeah, pshuat nefesh. Beautiful, no? It's a beautiful pshat. Now, so now I wanted to say the Gemara in Baba Kama. We said the Gemara in Baba Kama. I don't think we get to the thing of Kol Yisrael Shem Chelik Lamaba. Try and make things neat. We'll do it next week. Gemara in Baba Kama says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Hai man Dubai le mehavi Hasid. You want to be a Hasid? Lekayem milei de nezikin. He should keep the words of nezikin. Choshe mishpat. Yeah. Benam nechaveroi, bad bayit, whatever it is, business, all these things. That's what you should want. Become a chassid, do that. Rava Amar mili da avot. Keep Masechet Avot. You keep Masechet Avot, then you become a chassid. V'amrila mili de brachot. And some say Rava didn't say Avot, he said keep brachot. Learn Masechet brachot, uhicha brachot, and then you become a chassid. So obviously what was going on? machloket, Mezikin Avot. So if you know, in our narrow view, we would say, if you want to be a chassid, so what Rabbi said, Avot. That's obviously, right? We just said now. For nefesh, it's Hachana Torah, it's Musa, it's from all the generations, going back to Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a Mu'at, HaMachzik, et HaMerubah, everything we just said till now. So it should be Avot, right? What's Mezikin and this and that? So the Maharsha, in Chidushei Agadot, he says over here, about Chassidut is the highest darga, it leads to Ruach HaKodesh, right? And he says that if a person wants to reach Shlemut from all areas, so he says thing which the Maharal also expounds on, there are three categories. There's Ben Adam LeMakom, Ben Adam LeHavero, and Ben Adam LeAtzmo. Right? The person between him and himself, how a person thinks, what he does, you understand? Regardless of anyone else. Right? Regardless of, learning Torah mitzvot between him and Hashem, there's a person how he views himself. You understand? So he says like this. These are the three things that I said over here. Minin Zikin is Ben Adam Chavero. Right? That's all the laws about, Ben Choshev Mishpat and monetary laws, etc. Damages, etc. Mili Da'avot, Hanu Ben Adam La'atzmo. Ben Adam La'atzmo, it's a person working on himself, on his midot. You understand? It's your own avoiders, regardless of anyone else. Obviously, it means to be nice to Ben Adam Chavero, because you're working on yourself, but essentially it's working on yourself. And mini de brachot, chayav ben adam lemakom. Right? He says, mini de brachot, ben adam lemakom. You're thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu essentially for, right? That's what Masechet Brachot is all about. Baruch atah Hashem, Baruch atah. The whole time you're making yourself aware of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I was told, you have done Maghrib, yeah? Okay. Now, you have done. Right. You have done, okay. So it says over here, that's what it says over here, right? In Masechet Avot. Now, just to finish off, we'll proceed to the door. Hegioni Avot. This is Tzvi Hirsch Ferber. That's how. He was the first Rosh Yeshiva in Manchester. We mentioned him in Ashrei. We came across. He wrote Pirush and Avot. He was a Rav in Soho in the 30s, which was then whatever. And he says as follows. He brings the Gemara Baba Kama, and he's medayek. It says, you should keep what it says in Avot. And he says, therefore the minig is that when we say Pirkei Avot between in the summer months, it's not just to say, sit down and mumble it off. No. Lekayem mili da'avot. You have to keep it. He says, Shisher roshim blibo lekayem divrehem. Al-yedei amira kazot, 1,000 times he says, it won't do anything to you. Right? Therefore, he says it's a tremendous thing, which mitzvah we're going to do, to sit down and learn and delve and understand, and therefore you'll be able to mekayem mili da'avot.